Hey there terrain makers, and welcome to part 2 of this terrain series, where me and perhaps you too, gonna make a fantasy medieval ruined building. In this part we are dealing with plastered walls and we are engraving pavings and brickwork into the XPS foam. The build continues by mixing filler for the plastered walls. I mix mine from powder cause it is cheaper and it never sets in the bucket. But you also can use premix speckle. Make sure it is without solvents, otherwise the XPS foam could get melted. Apply a 1 to 2 mm thick layer of filler on the substructure of your building. A set of modeling trowels makes the job easier. But you can also use a piece of plastic card or a popsicle stick. You can use excess material to build up a slope around your building. Do not worry if the filler gets on areas where it should not. Just use water and an old brush to clean it up. Scrap away the stucco to model damaged or weathered areas. We will engrave brickwork on these spots later on. Scrap off the filler on the wall's break line. It is time to install firing slits. The scalps can be trimmed by using a knife or a sanding paper. I have an old knife for rough jobs and a better one for the more exact or clean cutting jobs. PVA or wood glue is ideal for these materials. It offers play time, do not react with the materials, and is pretty safe to use. Excess glue can be cleaned up easily with water and brush. The doorway gets some glue too. These elements gonna be embedded by a second layer of stucco later on. By the way, these castings are available on my Etsy. Now it is time to make the brickwork for the walls and the cobblestone paving inside the building. Start by engraving a pattern using a pencil. Start with low pressure and follow the joints of the bricks gently a few times. Cut out a few bricks to make it look like there were stones falling down. Glue some of the stones back on the wall so it looks like they could break off every moment. This makes your walls more interesting and realistic. A little bit of trimming and sanding. Mistakes gonna be fixed with a second layer of filler. A nice transition between model and base makes it always more realistic. We use the same pencil technique for the cobblestone, but it's also possible to use single foam bricks or castings, or even real stones or pebbles. The edge of the paving area should be kind of defined, so I cut the shape of the stones. Other areas got sanded smoothly. Variation makes things interesting. A few separate stones makes the look even more realistic. Other stones got ripped off and glued in again. I put a piece of foam under the stone to level it just a bit. Other bricks got pressed in, so it looks like an old weathered ruined cobblestone paving. The next step is to texture the foam stones. I use a relatively fine sanding paper to sand off fibers. A ball of aluminium foil and sand glue to a pencil are the right helpers. Just press them gently into the foam. You could also use real stones or cork bark. I use these techniques on all foam areas that should look like stone later on. You can define the joints between the bricks by using a folded piece of fine grit sanding paper. There you are, the building gets kind of a Bathik texture overall. You can start painting and it's gonna look great if you want to save some time. But I added a few more steps of texturing and speckling, kind of unable to stop. Time for the second layer of filler, which gonna blend the castings nicely into the walls. The firing slits need a little bit of stucco too. Speckle and speckle and speckle. I was going for a rough surface cause it paints up nice. Stippling with a bristle brush gives your plastered wall more details. The stucco gonna look like made by a 28mm craftsman. I like to seal the engraved foam structures with a watered down layer of filler mixture. It helps to get rid of fibers and makes the foam easier to sand. Afterwards I followed the joints between the stones again to bring them out. A layer of acrylic paint helps to seal the texture. And it makes it easier for your brain to actually see what is happening on your model. Changing color is kind of a basic model making trick. You can skip these steps, totally fine. But I got kind of sucked into this texturing odyssey. I could not stop. After engraving the joints, I continued to sand and smooth the stones. And applied the next layer of filler mixture. This was kind of a testing part of the build. Making a few detailed smaller cobblestone areas and cast them could be the way to go. Especially if you are working on a complete gaming table. Anyway, these techniques show how to work out more details by using hard foam and common tools. It is up to you how much time you want to invest. It is always possible to do more and achieve more details. But finally the stucco, the cobblestone and the brickwork was done. And that is a satisfying moment when all these materials build a tiny little ruined home. In the next part of this series we will level up and put a second floor on the building. We're gonna use new materials like balsa wood and rocket sticks, so stay tuned. If you like this kind of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to keep the terrain train rolling, check out the links in the description below. Follow on Instagram, like on Facebook or become a patron. Link, like and share. By the way, we are currently working on a layouted PDF tutorial about making jungle terrain for my patrons, so watch out for a sneak peek. I also have a list on my website where I recommend tools for terrain making. This is an easy way to support the channel. And we just reached the mark of 1000 subscribers. Thank you and keep on making terrain.